Hi, everybody. Welcome to the broadcast. And we're glad that our television cameras are in here. So those of you watching at ACLJ.org can actually see a video of our discussion here. David French is in the studio with me here. I just came back, by the way, from New York yesterday. We had a series of meetings. Part of those meetings also dealt with the situation at the UN. Let me get everybody up to speed. The UN's coming back in session next week. At that session, it is planned right now for the Palestinian Authority to make some formal move at the UN regarding the issue. It's a little bit moving target right now regarding the issue of Palestinian statehood. Now, the reason that I say it's a moving issue right now is because we're not yet sure. There's not a 100% guarantee on what it's going to be. Is it going to be member state, which would give them voting rights, which has to go through the Security Council, or will it be a state that's not a voting member of the state, a state entity? Right now, they're a non-state entity. They moved to state entity. They don't get to vote, but they're deemed a state, much like the Vatican, the Holy See. David French is a senior counsel for the American Center for Law and Justice, does a lot on the international law issue. Let's talk about David first. We have a moving target here. I've been in meetings last week in our offices in Washington and Virginia, up in New York, meeting there. What's the status right now as you see it? It's very much moving, and people need to understand it is a moving target.
Well, I think what's happening right now is a lot of smarter people are bringing a lot of pressure on the Palestinians not to seek statehood. But the Palestinians so far are indicating that they're going to push forward anyway. They've got their own domestic political constituency, but the international community doesn't want to face this right now.
You mentioned their internal issue. Here's what's happened. The Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, Abu Mazen, has said for the last months that he wants his legacy to be, because he's not going to be serving in the next regime, which, by the way, is a partner with Hamas. He wants a Palestinian state created. The United States is facing real pressure on this issue because now you've got Turkey, which used to be an ally of of Israel, no longer the case. Egypt, and you saw we're going to talk about what's going on in Egypt right now, all putting pressure on the United States to not block a vote. The United States would actually have to veto a move in the Security Council, or the Palestinian Authority gets to have a Palestinian state. And here's the Palestinian state they want on the 67 borders. Let me play for you. This is soundbite number 3. Mohammed Shatay, he's a PLO Executive Committee member to the UN. This is what he's saying.
We are going to United Nations. We are going to the Security Council. We are going to ask for full membership for the Palestinian state on the borders of 1967.
So, David, here's the situation. People are saying, so what's the big deal if the Palestinian Authority gets a state, if the UN does that? Doesn't that solve the problem? It really makes the problem much worse and puts Israel's security in absolute jeopardy, especially with the region becoming so hostile.
Oh, it's much, much worse. Not only Palestinian Authority does not control that land. They're going to be getting a declaration of independence on land that they don't control, land where Jewish people live in large numbers. There would be a recipe for conflict, a recipe for war. This would be laying the foundation for war.
All right, we're going to talk about that foundation for war when we come back. Our phone lines are open for you right now. Here's the question, folks. Do we begin to stand with Israel, putting pressure on our government, putting pressure on the UN? How important is it that Israel be able to maintain its borders and fend off this now what I consider a form of attack coming from the Palestinian Authority? We've got our booklet on Sharia law. If you want that, 877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255.